Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome yet again. Hope everyone's well on this lovely, I don't know, is it Wednesday? Wednesday afternoon. We are about to watch a Falcon 9 launch from SLC 40 at Cape Canaveral with a payload of Starlink satellites, 23 second generation Starlink V2 mini internet satellites. Falcon's first stage will be recovered. It will land on the drone ship. Just read the instructions in the Atlantic Ocean. And because Elon's an asshole and we love him for it, the recovery vessel Bob will scoop up the fairing halves from this launch. So Bob's going to be doing the dirty work. Sorry, I'm also looking at. So tomorrow night, we also have a Falcon 9 Starlink 7-8 that will launch another batch of 23 second gen V2 mini satellites from SLC 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in Southern California. Also coming up this week in spaceflight into next week, we have the Falcon Heavy USS F-52 mission. Launch time to be determined at this point. That will launch from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center in sunny Florida. After that, probably the start of next week, we're anticipating the launch. So it's 0400 to 0600 UTC. I would have to do a correction, but I think that is, what is that, 10 o'clock my time, Dazzer? Dazzer will know. 0600 UTC. That will be a Japan-based Earth imaging company on the Electron, the Moon God Awakens mission. Then we have various Falcon 9s for the rest of December. We also see a Vulcan Centaur on or the day before Christmas in the States. And then there's a bunch to be determined into the end of this year, early part of next year, including an Atlas 5, Axiom 3, IMSat 1, Vulcan Centaur Dream Chaser 1. So we have a ton of flights coming up that will be either end of this year or beginning of next. So that's always fun. So let's take a look at today's mission profiles. SpaceX is targeting Thursday, December 7th, today, for a Falcon 9 launch of 23 satellites to low Earth orbit from SLC 40. Liftoff is targeted for 12:07 a.m. Eastern Time, with backup opportunities available until 2:59 Eastern if needed. Additional opportunities will also be available on Thursday, December 7th, starting at 11. A live webcast of this mission will begin about 5 minutes prior, so that will be 12:01, so about 7 minutes from now. And we have that up and ready to go. This is the 9th flight for the first stage booster supporting this mission, which previously launched Crew 5, GPS 3, Space Vehicle 06, Inmarsat I6-F2, CRS 28, Intelsat G-37, and 3 previous Starlink missions. Like I said, following stage step, the vehicle will land on Just Read the Instructions, and the fairing halves will be collected by Bob. Let's say hello to the crew and get into it. Shenny, hello. Bad Daza, hello, sir. I don't think, was I? What's up, Deez? Rocket Dysfunction. What's up, Comer? HT, good to see you. One would think you have a clock on for every time zone on your wall. I have a Dazzler for every time zone on my wall. So why the hell would I put another clock up? That just seems like a waste of wall space. But I appreciate the super chat as always, sir. So we have a fairly normal launch schedule. Go for propellant load that's already underway. Again, this uses RP1, which is rocket grade kerosene, CH4, so highly carbon fuel. No, it's not CH4. That's is it? That's methane. Sorry, that's the other one. So highly carbon fuel. Never mind. First stage LOX, so liquid oxygen loading. Those are already underway. Second stage LOX loading has already begun, and we're coming up on this. Falcon 9 begins engine chill prior to launch in about 3 minutes. After we join them live, we'll see different things like the strong back retracts, that kind of things, the engine vent. So we'll see our puffy stuff. Command flight computer to begin final pre-launch checks at T-minus 1 minute. Propellant tank pressurization to flight pressure begins at T-minus 1 minute, 45 seconds to launch. SpaceX Launch Director verifies go for launch. T-minus 3 seconds, engine controller commands engine ignition sequence to start. And at T-minus 0, we have liftoff. It's the same profile we've seen a million times, but we'll look at it again. Pretty standard. We have launch, ascent. It is going to be a very aggressive curve this time. We'll have stage separation. At this point, the first stage will flip and reorient using those big grid fins to reorient itself back to Earth. Again, for those of you who've never seen the grid fins or don't know the scale of them, this is my massive meat hand right here. Like probably the world's biggest hand, if we're being honest. And this is that titanium grid fin that's machined from one single piece of titanium. Impressive. Very, very impressive. From there, we'll have fairing separation. Again, those fairings will float back to Earth and be rescued by Bob. Payload separation from that point. Grid fins will deploy. We'll get an entry burn. Then it will use those grid fins for aerodynamic guidance to communicate with the autonomous drone ship and land successfully vertically. I know. After we get a good launch, 1 minute and 12 seconds into flight, we'll reach max Q. That is the maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. That is where the max speed and the max atmospheric pressure will act as the max thrust or max force on the vehicle. And they actually, SpaceX will throttle down the engines to punch through max Q to reduce those stresses on the vehicle because it's unnecessary. Like we said with the the Soyuz rockets and things of that nature, they just let them go kind of full throttle. SpaceX has decided to slow down to punch through that max Q to reduce the stresses on the vehicle. 2 minutes and 26 seconds, we'll have first stage main engine cutoff or MECO. 3 seconds later, we'll get stage separation of the first and second stage. 7 seconds after that, we'll have second in stage engine starts or SES1. Then about 27 seconds after, we'll get our fairing deployment, and those will start drifting back to Earth. Then we have not a lot going on for about 3 minutes and 7 seconds. And then somewhere in that general ballpark, we'll start getting first stage entry burn. That will last for about 21 seconds. That will end. And then it will drift back to Earth for about a minute and 32 seconds ish. No, that's not right. Anyways, about a minute and a half until it starts going into its landing burn. After that, we'll have a landing of the first stage. Shortly after that, about 13 seconds, that second stage engine will cut off and it will drift in the vacuum of space for about 40 minutes, give or take, until we have another burn from that second engine. And that burn will last 2 seconds until it's cut off, and then it will drift again once it's in its parking orbit until the Starlink satellites deploy about an hour and 5 minutes into flight. So that's what our mission profile looks like for today's launch. Wanted to see if they still have it up. So far this year, we have 278 total launches of SpaceX Falcon 9's 236 landings. And of those 278 launches, 211 are reflights. So a good portion of them, which is able to bring down the cost of sending things to orbit. Some of them are because NASA is a dinosaur and won't allow reflights. Some of them are also human-rated spacecraft. NASA doesn't allow reflights on human-rated spacecraft. But, so that is what we have right now. If you only spelled Chinese right, jackass. All right. And just like that, we have live coverage. Maybe. Has Dazer answered me yet? All right, perfect. It is really cool.
Tanks are pressing for strong back retract.
So we're coming up on that strong back retract. So it goes about 3 degrees back to clear the rocket temporarily, but also to have some support for the system. The cool thing about the strong back is this is a vertical rocket, obviously, but it starts off as horizontal.
Retract has started.
And they lift it in position. So they just slide it up and lift it into position. So it rolls in on a truck horizontally. They lift it up vertically, and then the strong back holds it in place until it's ready to go. So now we're just kind of waiting. We're waiting for those umbilicals to come back. All kinds of pre-launch checks are going on. Although it doesn't seem like much to us, a ton is going on behind the scenes to make this a successful space flight. How many times do you think they can reuse them? I think we're on 12. I think they could probably get 15. I think 15 is hella ambitious before you have to start refurbishing things. And then it's kind of like, why? Is it better to just build a new rocket or continue to refurbish? But I think 15 is probably going to be your cutoff. I'll look that up because I'm not sure now that I've said that. But reflights of SpaceX F9. I was wrong. I do apologize. I knew as soon as I said it. So 18 is their number right now. So it's past what I think it probably could have been. So their record for reflights is 18 on a single booster. I think 15 was probably the original number. I don't know that that's still in service, but if it is, I'm sure they'll fly it at 19th and 20th time. I think that probably at some point the goal with one of the Falcon 9s for Starlink will be that they will fly it until one fails, so they can have that kind of data. But of course, using their own payload, so nobody's out anything. With the express knowledge that they are flying it to failure.
Stage 2, lock slot is complete.
But that's a lot of reflights. That's the engines are incredibly violent. The system is incredibly violent, and there's a lot of material science that goes into that because of the thermal shock and thermal expansion, contraction, all that kind of stuff. So it is incredibly impressive that they can do it that many times. Incredibly. What's up, Jacob Castro over on Rumble?
Ground gas closeouts.
So we have those gas closeouts. Now we're starting to see the vent. So they're pressurizing the flight tanks, and the vent is perfectly normal. That is our puffy stuff. We're about 15 seconds away from startup, where it will be on internal power and control. Everything is done by the spacecraft at this point in about 5 seconds. So now about 15
Falcon
seconds.
9 is in startup.
We will have our go, no go for launch. So about 5 seconds. We should get that call out.
Go for launch.
And we are go for launch. Go SpaceX, go Falcon 9, go Starlink. Of course, there is an opportunity to still scrub the vehicle all the way up until about the 3-second mark. This one seems to be proceeding nominally, so I'm not anticipating that, but they can scrub it up to that engine sequence start.
T-minus 15.
T-minus 10.
T-minus 5.
And there's the deluge system firing.
2, 1, 0. Liftoff.
And liftoff of Falcon 9. Fantastic onboard camera.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
We have a nominal call out on propulsion. So we're giving it everything it can get to get it out of the densest part of the atmosphere and the
Power and telemetry nominal.
strength of our gravity. It's a lot of stress on the metal. They must check for fractures. Yes, I know that they
Vehicle is
inspect
supersonic.
them. Vehicle supersonic. I know that they inspect them heavily, and they have replaced parts on some of the rockets, but for the most part,
Max
they're all.
Q.
And we're through Max Q. So our next major milestone will be that main engine cutoff, where the payload will technically be in space or headed to space.
Impact chill has started.
So starting to chill that second stage engine in preparation for firing. And again, as you can see, as we get higher into that atmosphere, that plume puffs out just a little bit because there's less pressure on it, keeping it in. So we see that starting to fan out just a little bit. And our speed is coming up on 6,000 kilometers per hour, which is really fast. Each flight is part of that test. Absolutely. Um,
Main engine cutoff.
and MECO stage 1. And part of that
Stage
too,
separation confirmed.
is they're trying to provide
Impact
to
ignition.
customers that they can successfully launch a rocket 10, 15, 20 times. Because if you don't have a customer that wants to put something up, then you're at a disadvantage. They have the distinct advantage of being able to put their own payloads up, and
Both vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
they've been able to push the envelope because they've been able to risk their own payloads. When you have these
Fairing separation confirmed.
multi-year satellite programs that are millions of dollars, you don't want to jeopardize those. So, with it built in the Starlink system, he's able to have a little bit more latitude to be able to do things like that. So as we can see, the stages have separated. The second stage will continue to pick up speed. And the first stage will start slowing down for a moment while it's doing its spin. That's to bleed off some of the speed. Then we'll see that engine fire. Then we'll see the speed bleed off some more. Right after that, we'll see that speed picking back up until it starts encountering the atmosphere, where the speed will drop off considerably. They use the atmosphere to bleed off most of the speed for the rocket on the way back down the first stage. Because it's there. Why not? Why not use it? So we're seeing that second stage telemetry just hit over 10,000 kilometers per hour at an altitude of 141 kilometers above the Earth. And some ask why. So, like, while we're waiting for it, why the Apollo program, for example, the reentry vehicle, why there's so much more of a concern. There was heat shields, all this stuff. Well, one of the things that SpaceX does is they do light the engines, which dissipates some of the heat. It
Both
also
vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
They also come back through their gas layer to also dissipate some of that heat from the uh, the supercooled oxygen, as well as the flames and the soot and all the stuff that kind of mixes into that. Early for an entry. Oh, those are RCS. So that all kinds of plays into it. The other thing that plays into it is you have a little bit less than a third of the speed. So if you have significantly less speed, you have significantly less friction, heat, things of that nature. Also, the altitude is obviously
Stage 1 entry burn.
considerably less. And there's our entry burn, slowing down, hitting the brake.
Stage 1 entry shutdown.
And shutdown. And again, we'll see that speed pick up just a little bit here until it starts encountering atmosphere. On the left side will be your...
Both vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
The left side is your first stage. Right side is your second stage with the payload. We can see those grid fins taking up some of the air on the left side, upper left side.
Stage 1 and Stage 2 FTS have saved.
So the flight termination system is saved on both stages. We lost uplink on stage 1. Stage 1 is
Stage 1 transonic.
transonic. So back slowed less than the speed of sound. I don't know that we're going to get a video on stage 1. Maybe. And now that you have a lighter payload and
Stage
less
2 is
atmosphere,
in terminal guidance.
you can see that
Stage
speed
1
increasing
landing
considerably on that stage 2.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And landing legs deploy. You can see the drone ship in frame. And 3, 2, 1. And touchdown.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
MVAC shutdown.
MVAC shutdown, good orbital insertion, and another successful mission for SpaceX. And we should lose the coverage here just a tick.
Nominal orbit insertion.
There's our call out for nominal orbit insertion. And that will do it. So another great launch from SpaceX. God, they make it look so easy. It's impressive. It truly is. So it is still cool to see. But, ladies and gentlemen, I streamed a couple times today. I'm gonna sign off for the night. Tomorrow news and views, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of shit blew up today and throughout the week, so there's a lot to talk about. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Have a great night, everybody. Talk to you soon.